Introducing LT Defense Tactical Gear, your ultimate solution for top-notch protection and performance in the field. Our armor bundles provide unmatched safety and comfort, while our battle belts and holsters ensure quick and easy access to your gear. Stay prepared for any situation with our high-quality medical supplies, designed to keep you ready for action at all times. Looking to enhance your skills? Our firearms training programs will take your proficiency to the next level. Trust LT Defense for all your tactical gear needs and gear up for success on the battlefield.
This entire military is one cohesive, dedicated force. And the threats to our nations, they don't sleep. They're watching our every move. Iran, Russia, China, North Korea, ISIS, Al-Qaeda. They may be watching this right now. Our military should not be mistaken for a cable news gabfest show. We don't care what you look like. We don't care who you voted for, who you worship, what you worship, who you love. It doesn't matter if your dad left you millions when he died or if you knew who your father was. We have been honed into a machine of lethal moving parts that you would be wise to avoid if you know what's good for you. We will not be intimidated. We will not back down. We don't want war. But if you want war with the United States of America, there's one thing I can promise you, so help me God. Someone else will raise your sons and daughters.
Military Broadcast Radio, the station that's giving veterans a voice.
Find us on the web at mbradio.us.
Military, I'm a certified financial social worker. I was in the Air Force for 14 years, and then I paid off $20,000 of debt while I was active duty within 3 years as an E3. So that's kind of like I got really into personal finance, and so I've been really passionate about that ever since. And that was 10, 12 years ago now. So since then, I became a social worker, and now I'm a certified financial social worker. So we kind of get into, dealing with finances, but then also kind of dealing with the psychology behind finances, like the mental side of things. So,
ladies and gentlemen, your battle buddy when it comes to finances, please welcome the fire social worker, Joey Laswell.
All right. Hello, everyone. This is the Money in the Military show. Sorry, I'm a little rusty. I've been out of the groove for a little bit there. Been out of pocket doing some other things. Had some conferences that I was attending, so I was a little off a little bit there. But hey, we're live on MBR. This is where we're giving veterans a voice. And today we have a special guest. We have an up and coming talent on our network. We have Cameron. I didn't get your last name yet, but
Balch.
Balch. Okay. All right. So we got Cameron Balch, and he's actually got a show coming out. He's working it, basically starting it up. You're going to call it the Uncle Fester's podcast, correct?
Yes, sir. Where we talk about anything that's under the sun.
Okay. And then you are an active cross country trucker?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. Well, so let's let the audience get to know you a little bit. So,
Okay.
This is only your second time being on air, so to speak, but your first kind of like, you had some technical issues the first time around, but now we're here. So we want to get to know you a little bit better and give you a chance to kind of talk and tell us a little bit about your story and then what your podcast is going to be about. So,
yes, sir.
So go ahead and tell us about your military history and then how you got to be where you are now.
Yes, sir. So basically, graduated high school in 2009. Right out of high school, I joined the Army, and off air, you and me were talking, how the recruiters weren't available for the other branches,
Mm-hmm.
but I did my basic in Fort Jackson, South Carolina. Nickname was Relaxing Jackson. Did my basic training there. Turned around, went to Fort Linwood. Did multiple training exercises there. I learned my job as a heavy construction equipment operator, and that was probably the most fun I've had in a while. Get to play with the toys. I was like, the Tonka kid growing up. Now I
Yeah.
get to tear it up myself with the
Nice.
old Deuce and a Half or the old Caterpillars or whatever. So it was always fun. And then we were told, hey, we're going to go to Fort Carson. Cool. And we lost our orders. Then they turned around and said, hey, we're going to send 12 of you kids to Germany. And we landed in Germany. It was like May 2nd or May 3rd of 2010. We get there. We figure out where we're going to go. And I'm in Bamberg, Germany, 2010. And just, again, changes were going on with the military, changes going on in our units. Get there, and then it was not even 3 months. Well, I'm back over Fort Leonard Wood doing more training for a route clearance. So I went from heavy construction to where I was operating, the Huskies, the Buffaloes, or anything that would help for mine detection. And then we went to Graf and Hohenfels. Did a couple months training there, and they sent us home for R&R Thanksgiving in Germany. And then we turned around, and our lieutenant colonel was like, hey, by the way, just volunteered you guys to go to Afghanistan a whole year early.
Oh wow, how nice!
So,
How nice of them.
Yeah, and we left December 4th from Bamberg, Germany, and it was like 30 degrees outside, but it felt different than it is here in the United States.
Mm-hmm.
And we landed December 5th in Bagram, and it was 110 degrees. And we went from negative 30 to, to 110. You talk about getting your breath taken out.
Yeah, right.
And then we got, we did the whole welcome into country and the whole spiel with that. So deployment wasn't bad as far as my end of it. I mean, we got hit a few times.
Mm-hmm.
I got hit twice.
Wow.
Minor IEDs, nothing to take away from anybody else. We all got some type of damages from it.
Mm-hmm.
But when we're doing this mission and we're helping to clear the route, I literally go over this culvert, and my back end got hit, and it kind of stood me up and set me back down. Come back out, and me and a buddy got too close together, and the guy set off the IED, and we just picked my front end up. I mean, that was all over the place. So, but as far as that was the most excitement per se we had.
Okay.
I'd do the military again, if I lost the weight and had a different perspective on jobs per se.
Okay. All right. So then your contract came up to do, or and you got out, or how'd that process work?
No. So again, as far as the military goes, and I don't know if you got to experience this, we trained with leadership that we took downrange,
Mm-hmm.
and then right in the middle of it, and I don't know what caused this to happen for them to leave, but they were plucked from our unit, and then we got plugged in with two other ones straight out of the War College here out of PA.
Wow.
I mean, green as you can get. Didn't know anything about them. It was like, who are you and what are you doing here?
Right.
But really, what it came down to was we went into combat after they showed up, and it was basically, do we trust them? Do we sit there and put our life on the line for them?
Yeah.
Same way we got a new first sergeant when we were in Germany. Just, it was like, hey, his contract was up or whatever. Again, I don't know his business, but he turned around and was like, I'm your new first sergeant, and during war we got plucked, two new guys. So, when I was in, and this is, again, I'll raise my hand and say it's my fault. I went in heavy. I went in 190 pounds. The doc signed off on it, says, hey, you're good to go. Pushed me through the door. All right. I relied on my sergeants and corporals to sit there and say, hey, let's go do something together. Let's go gym or whatever. That's my fault. My fault was I didn't put enough effort into it, and I threw the white flag up when I started seeing inconsistencies. I started seeing, double standards or whatever. I let that get to me.
Yeah.
And I failed myself because a 19-year-old kid in Bamberg, Germany, I told someone else, don't ever send a kid to Germany because that's a place to get so much trouble. But the history, the excitement of it was worth it all. And going forward, I probably live there. But anyway, when I got there and I started seeing that, I kind of, like I said, I threw the right flag up and I walked away, and I was like, my mind was like, if you guys ain't going to help me, what do I have to give for this company? What do I have to give for the Army or whatever? And I regret that. That's one part that I do regret. And now it's so we get down range. Of course, we're in 5 Airborne, Afghanistan. We're on. I mean, literally, our base is on the side of a mountain. And
Wow.
you know, I don't know if it's legal. So if you can edit this one out, you can. First Sergeant Moore was like, "Hey, let's go run the mountain." And this thing is, you know, straight up. I mean, it's almost 8%. We're doing a PT test, and he tried to fail everybody out the door.
Wow.
You know, if you wasn't his standard, you're out the door. So we butted heads. I had surgery downrange. I had a root canal done downrange, and it was, hey, let's go do PT test right now. Well, I'm doped up on painkillers, and you know, we're going to push you to go do PT test. And you know, I butted heads. Honestly, I butted heads with that, and couldn't find anybody to help. So basically, it was like, hey, you failed your 3 PT tests, you know, and out the door you go. So they sent me home right at the end of our deployment. Sent me home, and here's your paperwork. Have a good day. Thanks for what you've done, and that was it.
Wow. That's crazy, man. That's crazy. Well, you know, like I said, we were talking offline earlier. You know, I definitely think you should value your service, and you know, you signed the dotted line. You went overseas. You fought for your country. So, you know, I'm proud of you, and thank you for what you do. You know what you did. So,
and again, you know, like off air, thank you for, you know, acknowledging it from one battle to another battle.
Yeah.
Because not to get too far into it, but there is still that one where there's still those battles that they won't talk about the issues. They won't sit there and they'll get on Facebook, or they're, you know, talk to some stranger, and there's not that connect. There's not that, hey, I understand what you're going through, or hey, let's go fish, or let's go hunt, let's go. They don't have that, or they don't want that, and they're lost. Or a battle will reach out, man, let's talk, and they don't do it. So there is that issue, but to you know, to have someone as a battle, or even some of the populace, hey, thank you for what you've done. There's some days I don't feel like I deserve it. There's some days that I struggle with that, but I still show my gratitude, because there's so much of the population that'll sit back and going, what'd you fight for? You know what you got yourself into. It's kind of weird how history repeats itself. You think back real quick, what happened with Vietnam guys?
Yeah.
Hey, I got drafted, or hey, I signed up voluntarily with the Vietnam, and they come back and they're labeled with derogatory terms, and they're spit on, or their I wouldn't say houses were burned or cars were burned. I mean, you saw that, and I experienced some of it when I came back for R&R. I experienced it, you know, same thing. You don't know what you're doing. You don't know why you're fighting.
Right.
I wasn't into political. I didn't care until we started having our paychecks withheld, or we started having, you know, leadership issues, or whatever. And it's like, well, wait a minute, we need to talk here, guys. But again, it's to have people acknowledge it is still sentimental to me, and it's still, on one hand, it's hard to grasp it, but on the other hand, I'm grateful for it.
Yeah. I mean, I think that a lot of veterans can resonate with that. You know, especially if you compare yourself to some of your peers. You know, it's like, oh, my dad did 21 years, my brother did 20 years, and I only did, you know, this amount of time. You know, so you kind of compare yourself to your peers, your family, and all that stuff too. So, but I mean, yeah, it shouldn't come to you invalidating or not valuing your own service. So I just wanted to make sure that you felt that. and that other veterans that might be in a similar situation can feel the same thing too. They should
Yes, sir.
value their service.
Yes, sir.
So what we're gonna do now, we got that's a good intro, and I'm glad you shared that with us. And part of the good thing about the MBR platform is that you're a real veteran. I'm a real veteran. We're two veterans just talking, and there's something there's very therapeutic about that. And I hope that more veterans can start tuning in and sharing and contributing to asking questions and things like that. So yeah, definitely. If you're listening, or if you know someone that might need an outlet like this, either come join us and start a podcast like Cameron here or me, or just kind of listen in and here's some two old crusty vets, talking about their old days.
I'll agree with the crusty part. You start to think about when you get out of the military. When you was in the military, real quick. You're doing PT every day. You get out, you salute reveille. You do, you do your morning roll call, and it's, hey, let's go run. Hey, let's go do pull-ups or whatever. And by the time you get done, you're dripping in sweat, and you're hurting, you're whatever. You got time to get a shower. You got time to go get some more food or whatever, and then get back to ready to go to work. It was a daily job,
Yeah.
And you get out of the military, and you're like, PT? What the hell's PT? Now, some people still do it. Marines. I got a buddy that he's in the Marines, and he still works out.
Yeah.
He became a truck driver, and he gained so much weight, like, again, trucking does to us. And then he dropped it real quick because he's like, I've got to start eating better, and then I got to run. I'm like, you're out your mind, And then, yeah, so when I get out of bed or I get out of the truck, I'm like, oh, crap. I'm hurting because my knees or my back or my shoulders. I'm like, somebody just salvage me. Just send me out to the parts department, give me some new ones.
Oh man. All right. Well, we're going to take a little bit of a musical break. And then when we come back, we're going to talk some more. We're going to actually answer some questions. I've got a few that people have sent me, and I've got a couple in the comments already. But if you have any financial questions, it could be big, small, whatever's itching at you. We're going to try to handle it, talk about it, and just have some conversations about finance. So after the musical break, we have this is Noah Peterson, one of my go-tos, Marine Corps veteran out of San Antonio. Plays kind of a funky jazz type of music, but I really enjoy it. So here is Noah Peterson.
Military Broadcast Radio, the station that's giving veterans a voice.
Find us on the web at mbradio.us.
opinions expressed in this program are those of the speakers and do not necessarily reflect the views or positions of any entities they represent.
Find us on the web at mbradio.us.
All right, we are back. This is Money in the Military on Military Broadcast Radio. Thanks for joining us. We have Cameron here. He is a future MBR podcaster. He's going to have the Uncle Fester's podcast, which is going to be about trucking, right?
Yes, sir.
Your
Trucking,
experiences.
sports,
Mhm.
military. Yep.
Okay, so a little bit of everything, so a variety show of kinds. Okay, so yeah, we just kind of had invited him on to the broadcast, kind of give him some some time to have some exposure, get on air, and just talk, get to know him a little bit, introduce him to the audience. So so thanks again for jumping on, Cameron. And before the break, we were going to start talking about answering some financial questions, and just kind of see where people's heads are at. And the first question that came up was from Bradley Jackson. He asked about, should I do the right thing and hold my Doge? It's rising and I'm waiting for it to hit some stupid levels. Okay, so I'll be the first to admit that I am not a Bitcoin guy, but with Doge being in the news and everything, it's been. I actually tracked it. I was curious because I looked it up the price, and it's at 37 cents. I guess for a coin. I don't know how that works, but 37 cents, and it is going up. So there's a clear trajectory that it's going up. But then I also looked at the peak was back in 2021 and it was at 64 cents. So it's not it's almost a little less than half or a little more than half of where it was at one point at its peak. But I guess that's just all that to say is that it could go back up to that and even go beyond that. But like I wouldn't feel I'm not a investing professional, so I wouldn't feel comfortable giving it any Bitcoin advice. But it just me personally, it's too volatile for me. But I understand you can make some money off of that stuff too. So it's all about your risk tolerance, So if you're kind of more of a risk taker and you like the big rewards, big risk, then go for it. If you feel like it's something that you're just really passionate about or a lot about, then go for it. I don't know. What do you think about that, Cameron?
My and this is again my sole opinion.
Yeah.
Bitcoin is like you said, it's volatile, just like the stock market, just like anything right now. I mean, politics are done. Politics aside, let's see what happens. Hopefully it'll climb. I mean, I've had friends that's been very successful in making money with it, and they're like, hey, I could sit on it, or I could cash some out and pay some bills off, or whatever. But I mean, you just said it. It was up what'd you say,
64 cents? Yeah.
64 cents, and it's down now to 37. I mean, he's lost close to half of its value.
Depending on when he jumped in, like at its lowest, it was 5 cents a share. So if he bought in, and I think it recently started peaking or spiking in around March. So I mean, if he got in at March or February, it was 8 cents. So it has gone up, I guess, in that window of time, it's gone up pretty good.
And it's gone up good, and it's lost some of its value. I mean, it's one of those things that you sit back and you go, when do I pull it out, or when do I sell? Because when you talk to Edward Jones, you talk to anybody else. And again, if me saying the name is a no, then my bad.
Oh, that's fine.
But when you talk to these financial advisors, they'll sit back and they say, yes, go ahead and sit on it, or let's wait, or pull it out now. But to have an account with them or have your own account, there's two different ways of going about that. I've never been to Bitcoin, but if I'm making money on it, maybe pull some of it out while you got the chance, while it's still up there, and you can make money. But if it's a, and again, my opinion, if it's a losing value, or if it's a losing stock, a stock or a bond or whatever, if it's losing value and you're not making money, let's go back to the drawing board and say, what can I do better?
Right. Right. Yeah, and then the other part of it is like, what's your runway? Like, when do you need? Do you
Yeah.
ever need this money? Are you planning on spending any money? Like, or, where is this? Is this because like some people use investing stock market bitcoins almost like gambling? Like they know that
Yeah.
it's and they know they're taking a risk and it's kind of fun for them. But then other people, it's like, no, this is like my future nest egg. So you got to be kind of careful with what you do with that.
Well, and again, you saw what happened with like the Bernie Madoff, incident. Or you saw what happened when the housing market crashed in what was it, 2008,
2008, yeah.
2000? Yeah.
Hmm.
So when the housing market crashed or the stock markets crashed and everybody lost their 401ks or they lost so much of other availability to their money, it's like, okay, we know eventually that may happen again, but we
Hmm.
don't know when. We don't know how. We don't know who's going to be affected. There's
Right.
so many questions that, as a person, I have to ask myself.
Mm.
I've got a 401k. What's that going to put into? How can I save it? How can I not touch it? How can I, you know, not owe any money? I mean, there was an app years ago. I don't know if they're still in business. It was like you could learn how to play the stock market game on your cell phone,
Hmm.
and this little kid thought it was a video game. Kid
Mm.
started playing the video game, and he's like, at the end, I was like, in the week or in the month, it says, well, if you played these stocks, you would have had this kind of money. If you played
Yeah.
this stock or what you done, you owe $200,000 and $300,000.
Right.
And unfortunately, that kid ended up taking his own life
Oh wow.
because he thought he owed that money right then and
Mm.
there.
Mm.
Um, he didn't. Again, he was well below 18. He wasn't. He was a
Yeah.
kid. He was like 13 or 14. So mistakes happen on that note.
Mm.
But this is, and again, the company refuted it, and I can't remember the company name, but they refuted it, say, hey, how can you hold us accountable? The kid lied or
Mhm.
whatever. But look, there's a lot of questions got to be asked, and it's a
Yeah.
lot of education. I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah.
I don't make a move unless I'm calm and I'm educated and I'm well diverse in knowing how it's going to be used. And again,
Mhm.
Mr. Bradley has a right to jump into Bitcoin. He's probably a smart person. You look at me, no, I am not smart any means, but I do a lot of research and I give him credit for it. I do
Yeah.
because Mr. Bradley, he's willing to take that risk. How much
Yeah.
risk or how much loss or how much gain or how much um where does that all fall into play? Where does that
Right.
say, hey, I don't want to lose my butt, but
Mhm.
and is this my goal? Like I said, can I put money in this egg or can I come rich off it? Or again, you made a comment when you turn around and say, oh, this is a game or this is I got an addiction problem.
Mhm. Yeah.
So it's there's a lot of questions and a lot of answers. So
Mhm.
each person's their own. I give Bradley credit. I'll stay with Bitcoin. I'll jump into smaller markets somewhere down the road. You know what I mean?
Right. Well, the thing about the Bitcoin phenomenon is I think a lot of people really did make genuine money, and so people kind of started to like jump on the bandwagon without really knowing what they were getting into, and so a lot of people lost their shirts, when things didn't go well, or there was a market correction a few years back
Mm-hmm.
that just really decimated a lot of people because they didn't know what they were getting into necessarily. So that's where I would just caution, like, if you know that if you're comfortable with the volatility, if like this your risk profile is good, you're strong, just make sure that it's money that you're okay with losing, because you can lose pretty much all of it. It's happened. So
Yeah.
that's where I would just be cautious, and I'm more of a cautious investor anyway, so I'm more of a buy and hold anyways type of person. So I mean, yeah, if that would be my
I,
ultimate
I
advice, would
would
be to buy and hold.
I would say, and again, my opinion is I'll take a risk, right?
Okay.
But
Yeah.
how much of a risk? It's like
Right.
I won't sit on an account for 2 years or 4 years and watch it just completely fall out with the bottom missing. I mean, we're
Mm-hmm.
talking like a 67 Ford Mustang. If that bottom's falling out, I'm getting rid of
Right.
it or I'm going to try to repair it. But
Right.
there's so much you can do because you turn around and you go, at what point am I just not making any headway?
Mm-hmm.
So you push forward and maybe maybe. And again, this is the biggest maybe of all choices. That you
Mm-hmm.
sit back and you go, man, I let this thing tank, but I've had 16 other accounts that's been
Right.
real positive. So
Mm-hmm.
16 positive to 1 negative,
Mm-hmm.
I could take this one and let it sink.
Right.
But what happens? What happens
Yeah.
going forward? Good,
Yeah.
again, good example, Pfizer.
Mm-hmm.
Pfizer's tanked, and they have
Mm-hmm.
tanked so hard because they've had a warehouse fire, and they've had,
Mm-hmm.
the lawsuits or whatever come into play with this medicine, right?
Yeah.
So, and again, they're pushing medicine out, and so you turn around and going, you guys are losing here. You're not making me money. So what
Mm-hmm.
happens? So
Mm-hmm.
again, every personal choice is without some type of risk,
Sure.
being cautious or taking that extreme risk. So again, I would sit there and say I like to take a risk, but it's like, how much do I cross
Mm-hmm.
that line of I'm jumping off the edge, or is it more of I'm sitting back and I'm trying to hold someone else's rear end from falling over?
Right. 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 And then the other part of that, the flip side of that is, you know, the hindsight bias is that where whenever maybe you get a little spooked and you sell when it starts to go down, but then you look at it from a 5-year window and you're like, man, if I'd have just held on to that, then it would
Yeah.
have gone. Like if you had an Nvidia, for instance, I probably should have bought Nvidia a long time ago, but I never did. And even though I appreciate the product, I enjoy the product and everything, and I it's just one of those things, like you never know what's going to just jump off.
No, you
So
don't.
so that's the tricky part, and that's where people get really, it's an emotional thing, because like it's a roller coaster ride, and a lot of people just don't feel comfortable, like either kicking themselves when they sold too soon, or kicking themselves because they bought at the peak and then it went
Mm-hmm.
down. So
Oh yeah.
that's just part of the risk, and I think a lot of people just aren't truly prepared or mentally prepared for those possible
Yeah,
losses.
and if I don't know what I'm doing, I won't do it by myself, right?
Hmm.
People say you do the trading, you do whatever online, you save money because you don't have that middle person taking 20, 30, 40% of your cuts.
Right.
So if you turn around and do it yourself, you better have the knowledge, you better have the education, you better look at the NASDAQ, you better look at whatever, because at that point in time, again, 6 months, 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, 5 year window, whatever, someone's going to tank, someone's going to climb and stay climbing. I
Hmm.
mean, and at what point does Bitcoin level out? Does it
Right.
level out, or
Right.
or does it climb, or does it get to the point where you're like, huh, uh-oh, you scratch your head going, I'm in a boo boo,
Hmm.
So again, I give him credit for doing it. I'm pretty sure I would hope so, and give him credit for jumping into it. But at the same time, though, it's like, it's one of those markets I don't know anything about.
Yeah.
Go talk to Edward Jones or Liberty Mutual, whatever. Go
Hmm.
talk to them.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's the thing with the Bitcoin, is so new, or it's still relatively new, that there's just so much unknown about it, and a lot of people couldn't even explain to you you know what the actual, like, what the underlying technology behind Bitcoin is. They just know that
Mm-hmm.
it's going up, and that they should buy it.
Yes,
So
sir.
like you said, educate yourself, be prepared for possible losses and possibly losing everything, because it's happened.
Yes, sir.
um, so yeah, that's just I guess that's our take on Doge. I'd say
And what
I
is
don't
Doge
think
anyway? What is Doge anyway? I've never heard of
so.
it.
So Doge is it's Dogecoin. It's kind of like it's a type of Bitcoin that is it's kind of like they call it a meme stock. And it doesn't really, as far as I know, um like it doesn't have a kind of product behind it or anything like that. So it's just kind of like a meme, like Elon Musk has been behind it. He's pushed for it in the past. So I mean, it's kind of like a joke Bitcoin, but I mean, people are buying it and making money off of it. So
Hey, if you're making money, more profit to
power
you.
to you. Yeah.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
I sit back and I'm going, I'm hearing meme, and I'm hearing, Elon Musk. I'm like, No, I'm good. I'm gonna stay as far as away from that one because that's a
Right,
burning
right.
fire. That's waiting to blow up.
Well, that's where it's like, if you see enough people jumping towards something, you like eventually my mind starts to think, it's like, okay, what's the catch, or where's the, like, is there something going on here? Because I mean, like, I'm seeing all these people flock to this, but like, I don't know if I trust it yet,
Exactly.
But at the same time, the early adopters, the people that did flock early, they probably made out like bandits, and then by the time other people get in, they're making some money, but not as much as the people at the beginning. So
Exactly.
it's kind of, it looks like a really an impressive return, but in reality, the later you get into the game, the less your return is going to be. So
Exactly.
Well, all right. Well, we're going to take, I guess, another quick break. And when we come back, we're going to have a couple more questions, hopefully, to answer. And if not, we'll just wing it and make up some questions that we can ask of ourselves. But yeah, so we're going to see what we're going to play. We'll try something different. I still like this new guy, or new to me, Andrew Robero. Really like this song. So we're going to play his song. And then we'll be back with Money in the Military with Cameron, and be back in a few minutes.
It's been 10 years since I'd seen his face. Not much had changed, just a different time, different place. When I shook his hand, I knew something had changed. This was a different man from the one I knew back then. That's when he said, "We do the goals." Yes, I stand in line and watch the flag wave with pride. You see, this is what I do. Yes, I bleed red, white, and blue. He told me the tales of his journeys far away. 3 times gone and land most only see on the front page. With honor and glory, he stood so tall and fought for you and I, so we could be free from it all. When he said, "We do the goals." Yes, I stand in line and watch the flag wave with pride. You see, this is what I do. Yes, I bleed red, white, and blue. We do the goals. Yes, I stand in line and watch the flag wave with pride. You see, this is what I do. Yes, I bleed. This is what I do. Yes, I bleed. Oh, this is what I do. Yes, I bleed. Red, white, and blue.
Military Broadcast Radio, the station that's giving veterans a voice.
Find us on the web at mbradio.us.
Opinions expressed in this program are those of the speakers and do not necessarily reflect the views or positions of any entities they represent.
Find us on the web at mbradio.us.
All right, we are back. This is Money in the Military. We have a special guest, Cameron, here, Army veteran, and now a truck driver who's going to start his own podcast called Uncle Fester's Podcast. Hopefully, within the next month or so, maybe we'll see.
Maybe first year, kind of,
Okay.
freight's kind of dying off for work, so gives me maybe a little bit more time to learn from the masters of Mr. Hunt and Amber and
Mm-hmm.
Magic Mike and Mr. and yourself, Mr. Laswell. So there's a lot of training, there's a lot of education materials that I've got to go through, equipment to get. So we'll get there, and again, when I get there, I'll throw a big old birthday bash, whatever.
Nice. Yeah,
Let's
yeah,
have some
absolutely.
fun. So
I mean, part of the journey is really this early part that I went through too. I feel like not that like 6 months ago or so. It's nerve-wracking, it's fun, it's exciting. There's a lot, you're not sure what you're doing at first, but then it's still fun. So yeah, just enjoy it, and we're just glad to have you on the team.
thank you, sir.
Mhm. All right, so I did have a question come through from my fire social worker page. So it says, "Hey, I'm getting out of the military soon, and I'm honestly feeling overwhelmed. My financial situation isn't great. I have some debt, not much saved, and I'm worried about finding a stable job in civilian life. How can I get my finances in order before transition, and what should I focus on to make this move as smooth as possible?" Wow, well, that's a lot.
That's it's a lot, but it's gonna be tough to answer that one and to not per se offend or upset them.
Yeah, yeah.
It's gonna be tough. I mean, there's no
It's
doubt
yeah.
about it. So
Mhm.
go ahead with your
Yeah.
statement.
Well, I mean, let's see. The first, have some debt. Obviously, well, we don't know this person's timeline. He says soon, so I guess I could try to reach out and get some more information. But
Yeah,
we'll just go with soon. We'll say within the next 6 months. That's a pretty tight timeline. And if you have debt, you don't have much saved, so that's obviously some strikes against you. But without knowing the full picture. I would say the biggest thing right now is working on getting that civilian job
yeah,
lined up, and that's going to guarantee or help you secure your financial future in the near term.
yeah,
But then, like if you're in this, if let's say you got some debt, okay, some debt doesn't sound like an extreme amount of debt, so maybe focus on paying down your debts as much as possible in this next 6 months or wherever time we got left.
yeah,
Um, and then, I would say make use of all the resources that you have for transition. When I went out, they have transition assistance program. Before you separate, they go through all these different briefings and stuff like that. Work on your resume, job skills, things like that. So definitely take advantage of those programs. And nowadays they have those internship programs. I don't
yeah,
know you've been hearing about them, but I did the Skill Bridge before I got out, and I got to do a little internship, and that was really cool. And definitely something that not everyone gets to do. So if you have the
no,
opportunity, definitely take advantage of that.
yeah.
Um, let's see. I don't know. What are your initial thoughts, Cameron?
So my initial thoughts on this one, and again, this is coming from somebody who's lived that lifestyle, right?
Okay.
When I was in the military, and we can go over this again on another question or another topic, but when I got in the military as an E1 to E2 to I got to E2. That was about it. When I got out, the money was decent. I mean, you got to
Mm-hmm.
think about it. You're basically making less than $20,000 a year.
Mm-hmm.
you know, you walk into, the military with debt, or you walk into the military without debt, and you're like going, well, crap, how'd I get all this debt on me? Because you go out and you have fun. You want to buy stuff. You want to live
Right.
you think you live in the luxurious life. And again, I did it. So I went down that road.
Right.
Going out, I had a different aspect. It was process out, do this paperwork, here you go, have a good day, go home.
Mm-hmm.
There wasn't a whole lot of resources available to me coming out.
Right.
I walked out of the military with maybe $700 in my savings and $200 in my checking. That was it. And I'm like,
Wow.
what do I do next?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
I took at least a couple months off. That was my thing to understand how life was going to be, because You come. Let's just say this person is in a war zone.
Mm-hmm.
You come back, you have to readjust, and that's going to be the hardest part without help. Is
Yep.
readjusting, because you're going to come back to civilian life where nobody will ever understand A, our lingo,
Mm-hmm.
B, what's in our minds, C, how we deal with it. When I first got out, I could replay Afghanistan. I could replay every moment, and I'm pretty sure I'm not the only battle out there that's been
Yeah.
downrange that's going to replay it. I mean, I could picture it, I could smell it, I could see it,
Mm-hmm.
and so I got out, and I kept saying, "Man, I'm strong. I don't need this help. I don't need it. Whatever."
Right.
And it wasn't too long. I started seeing the effects of me having a gigantic ego getting in the way.
Mm.
And I started failing. I started making mistakes. I started, going down that path. But when it came to financials, I was like, I didn't have that help. I just like, let's start back at the bottom. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, the things that I learned in the military could not be transitioned, in the Army, could not be transitioned to civilian life, because there was things that employers wanted more certifications, or more
Right.
hours on the job, or
Mm-hmm.
more hours on the equipment. So again, there was certain stipulations. So going out, I just went back to the bottom.
Mm-hmm.
I went back. I found that one job that says I want to bust my butt to earn the respect of somebody that I don't know.
Yeah.
And work your way up, and do it safely, do it smartly. As far as debt goes, pay off your lowest debt one bill at a time. Don't let it
Mm-hmm.
overstress you. Don't let it over consume you.
Right.
I mean, if you put $20 in that debt, that's $20 they can't refuse.
Yeah. Yeah.
If they start refusing money, or they want more than you can afford,
Mm-hmm.
maybe you need to sit there and say, sorry, I can only afford 20, and I've got A, B, and C debt to work on.
Right.
And the VA. Go to the VA. The VA has more resources.
Mm-hmm.
Magic Mike is a very good person. Is to get his name out there and say, hey man, when he's available to talk, and he can give you these paths.
Mm-hmm.
When he can sit there and say, hey, this is what the VA has, because the VA will have even job fairs. VA will have online hiring events, or internships, or whatever.
Yeah.
Go work for the VA. Some of it's not voluntary, some of it is voluntary. You
Mm-hmm.
gotta, look into that. But when someone gets out, just take it one day at a time. Don't let it consume you, because then you start losing focus of what needs to be right here. You start
Mm-hmm.
looking off to the right or the left, and you're going to start making mistakes, and you start going down that rabbit hole, and then it starts getting darker and darker and darker. So reach out to people. Reach out to someone that says, hey, man, I've been there. Here's what I've did. Here's what I've done.
Mm-hmm.
VA is again, they've improved so much over the last few years. The PAC Act. The PAC Act wasn't out when I first got out. So 12 years later, they're like, hey, you been by a burn pit? Oh, well, yeah, my entire life. I was a kid. I stood over the fire, and I was inhaling the fumes from the fire. But no, when we were in the military, we burned everything.
Mm-hmm.
So we're out there. My hut was literally right out on the other side of the Hesco barrier. So yeah, I've got to go through the whole process for that. There's things that the military that we did in the military, again, is affecting us going forward. But again, go to the VA. The VA is not that bad. Anybody. You got your doctors, you got your psychiatrists, you got your people that just don't care because you're a burden to them, or you broke up their lunch, or whatever their excuse is. Find the right doctor. Don't stop looking for help. Don't stop sitting there thinking nobody cares. Because a battle, Mr. Laswell, or Mike, or anybody else, we're going to care because we've been in that shoe. Our shoe, they fit the same size. I mean, theoretically. But we've been there. We know the struggles. We know the pains. We know, hey, guys that did 15 years, they've made more money. Guys that, or they went up in rank, they made more money. Guys that got out when they were private, PFC and specialists and corporals and everything else, when you start looking back on this, we wasn't making a whole lot of money. We struggled. We didn't care. We partied like we were rock stars. We thought, $1,600, every 2 weeks was money.
Right.
But getting out is an eye opener.
Mm-hmm.
And I wish the advice I'm giving now is the same I wish I had getting out. It's
Absolutely. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Focus on what you can do today. If you start worrying about Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday of next week, you've missed something. What is it? I couldn't tell you. If you don't ask for help, there's not going to be anybody there to just throw their hand out there and offer it to you.
Yeah.
So take that step back and just open up and relax and say, all right, do I got enough to make it a month? Or no, I ain't got it. Here's your next diagram. Let's go with this side of the diagram.
Mm-hmm.
When you get back, try to enjoy life a little bit. See what you missed, because you got a different world coming back. Right?
Mm-hmm.
And now there's so much programs from the VA. There's some assistance.
Yeah.
Find that right doctor. Don't stop. Find that right psychologist, or find that right financial aid person. I'm pretty sure VA's got somebody hidden in that building, somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
Make sure you get all your paperwork in order. Just, again, not to overstress anybody who asks this question.
Mm-hmm.
Look back at what, or ask a veteran, find a veteran. Hey, what'd you go through? What'd you experience? Because I didn't have that. I didn't know I could go to the VA right out the gate. I didn't know. My old man served, and then he's like, hey, let's go to the VA. And I was like, for what? I don't deserve to be there. I'm not that person.
Mm-hmm.
So now I wish I'd done it sooner. I
Right.
wish I would have made the changes to ask for help or say, where can you help me out?
Mm-hmm.
So again, that's my opinion, and just take the time to focus on yourself, focus on the day, worry about what you can control, and get your paperwork in order. You need that DD that DD 214 on you anytime for job interviews, for going to school. You need that, and have that paperwork. Make 1 million copies. Well, not literally, don't do that because that's a lot of paper.
Right.
But do that and say, this is the type of job I did in the military. Can it be transitioned? Ask these questions. I believe the DAV can help out. I believe there's another group out there. I can't remember the name offhand. Sorry.
DFW.
DFW. I believe they can help out. The American Legion. I believe they get someone. They know somebody or someone that can give you that advice.
Mm-hmm.
Sit down, talk with them. I'm not saying go have a beer with them during the daytime, because God knows that's going to be a bad choice. But sit down, talk with them, drink a cup of coffee with them. I'm pretty sure they can point you in the right direction. And maybe there's something that they missed. Maybe there's a mistake in your file. Maybe there's something that says, hey, I can make this better for you. But when it comes to your finances, it's about you. One bill at a time, one debt at a time, one day at a time. And just take a deep breath.
Yeah.
Take in the sunlight, because one day it's not going to be here.
Yeah.
So enjoy it.
Yeah. I appreciate you saying that. It sounds like that came from the heart. That was lived experience. That was raw, and I appreciate that, man. It's good advice for anyone getting out right now.
And again, when you make those mistakes yourself, it's hard.
You shout it out from the rooftops, and when you finally understand those things.
Yeah, and when you don't have that help, you're lost. You are seriously going, what do I do next? Who do I go to, and who's going to understand me? So it's a lot to take in when you first get out, because you go from a structured lifestyle that we as battles understand, and then you get out and you see the biggest picture that Picasso painted, because you see something now that civilian people try to ignore. And there's no structure, there's no respect, there's no leadership, there's nothing. I had a little bit of that in the military, but God, you walk out here and it's a different ball game. I mean, real quick, it's like I want to go watch Kansas City Royals face the New York Yankees, and I showed up to the wrong field. I'm looking at Houston Astros and Miami Marlins. You know, the Florida Marlins. I'm not in the same ballpark.
Right. Right.
So
Yeah.
the picture is painted so bad from when we get out of the military to when we come back to civilian life.
Mm.
And again, it's. I wish the VA would have done this a long time ago.
Yeah.
I wish the programs were available a long time ago. But I'm learning it as I go. I'm making my own mistakes. Hey, I'm the same person. I'm in the same boat this other person is. I'm turning around going, man, I put myself in so much debt with medical bills or cars or credit cards or whatever. And there's a time you sit back going, all right, you really need to sit down and look at the big picture that you're putting yourself into, because if you don't, there's going to be time you won't have that VA. There's going to be that time that you won't have that help. And guess what? You're under the bridge or it go anywhere. But, my thing is that it's just one day, one time, enjoy it while you got the chance. Enjoy what you can and work on what you can, because again, one day it may not be here.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like I try to liken it to finding your sea legs. You know, like when you're coming out, you're just kind of like you're like Bambi. You know, you're learning how to walk. It's a whole new world, and you're having to relearn or learn things that you just didn't have to do in the military world. So.
Yeah, and who's going to be there? That's the biggest thing that you always ask yourself. Who's going to be there? Who out of my friends or family or battle buddies is going to be around me?
Yeah.
Because we come from all walks of life. Different races, different religions, different political views and everything, right?
Yep.
So we get out. I've got buddies that are still in the military. They're sergeant first classes. They're jump masters. They're, retired staff sergeants. I still talk to them. They pretty much struggle too, getting out or staying in. There's some of them that are in that are still struggling.
Yeah.
So, but getting out, I wish I would have stayed. I wish I could have had the chance to fight to stay in. But my fate was decided a long time ago, and it's like, okay, you're done. Now you need to walk like a baby deer trying to find its legs, and you gotta learn. I mean, you gotta learn. It's this. The world didn't stop because you joined the military.
Right.
It flew, and it just went go and go and go, and then you try to jump into a line of a freight train and catch up, and you lost. So
right.
Again, and I'll repeat this a million times here, Mr. Laswell. Work on you as a person. Work on what you can control. Focus on what you can control. One debt or one bill, and don't overdo it. Don't sit there and think, man, I need a new car and I need a new house. No. If you can go pop your butt on the couch, go do it. Go be a bum for a little bit. I'm not saying take advantage of it. I'm saying enjoy it. Just say, hey man, can I crash for give me 6 months to get on my feet? Maybe someone can let you do that.
Yeah.
Or family, right? Get back on your feet, but take the time. And if you make a mistake, that's your time to make the mistake. That's your time to learn from it going, well, I shouldn't have done that one because now I'm paying for it here, or I'm paying for it 15 years later.
Right.
And I'm a prime example. I've done exactly what I'm telling you guys. And I've struggled so much with paying off my debt, but I put myself in debt and I pay it off little by little by little.
There you go.
Go to school. God, if you've done enough time, you can go to school and look at what you want to do. Make that choice. You got time. You got to infinity. I would assume so. But look, just do you. That's all I can say. Just keep doing you, and one day at a time, and focus on you. Clear your mind. Don't let it get stressful.
Well, man, I feel like I just went to church. I appreciate that. Preacher Cameron came through for us. But that's actually it's actually right, man. The time is just really flown by. It's almost time to call it. But But man, Cameron, I think you got a bright future ahead of yourself in the podcasting space. We're glad to have you here at MBR. Any last words for the audience?
No, basically just stay positive. Stay positive, stay focused. Ask for help if you need it. Ask for help when it comes up. And look, your battles are going to be your best friend. They understand you and they respect you. It's when you start trying to find that outside help that doesn't understand you that really somewhat hurts, but also can be, depending on who you talk to, can be very helpful. So stay positive, keep your head up, and keep looking for what you want to do next. Keep pushing yourself. Keep striving. Keep taking the risk. Take the good risk, not the negative risk, but keep going forward. And don't let one bad day ruin your attitude, or one bad day ruin your entire life. People that's not been in the military will never fully understand you. So take it with a grain of salt. And again, I'm guilty of it, but take it with a grain of salt and say, I can do this. I will do this, and I will stay focused.
Awesome. All right. Well, that's going to be it for Money in the Military. This has been Joey and Cameron. So catch us on the next stream, and we're going to be we'll be out until the next stream. So we'll talk to you guys later.
Have a good night, guys. Thanks.
All right. Joe.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in to Military Broadcast Radio. As we wrap up today's show, we want to remind you that the podcast of today's episode will be available right after we go off the air. So if you missed any part of the show or want to listen again, be sure to check it out. And remember, we're here to support and honor our veterans. Your stories and experiences matter, and we are committed to giving you a platform to share them. That's right. We're here to give our veterans a voice. So don't forget to catch the podcast and stay connected with us, giving our veterans a voice.